I found this book quite disturbing. I've never had a stranger comment on a book that I'm reading and say that it's a nice book. A blunt and straightforward story of what happens when a family wakes up one day and find that this is what Kafka understood at a fundamental level. This is what is also at the root of this book. It's a lovely metaphor for a very beautiful and profound truth about human existence. I don't really recommend books that are disturbing or tragic because the truth that this book contains is very unsettling, but it's also very useful. I read The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. Can you see the insect on the cover? Yeah, Gregor Samsa, who is the protagonist of the story. And he wakes up one morning and finds that he has turned into an insect. I've had this book for quite some time now, and it's a pretty thin book. It's about 100 pages long. And so I picked it up. I was taking a flight to Calcutta, so I picked it up and I thought I'll read it on the flight. There was a Russian lady who was sitting next to me. She was a tarot card reader and she was, shuffling her deck and taking a look at the cards from time to time. She noticed that I was reading this book and she pointed at it and said, "This is a great book." I've never had a stranger comment on a book that I'm reading and say that it's a nice book. This is actually a pretty famous book, probably Kafka's most famous book ever. Kafka is an astonishingly simple and straightforward writer. The book is very easy to read. There are no complicated words, there are no complicated concepts. It's all very straightforward. There is no unnecessary rambling. Kafka is very direct in his writings. He doesn't romanticize anything for even an instant. There's no decoration of any sort in his work. It is just a very blunt and straightforward story of what happens when a family wakes up one day and find that one of the most important members who actually provides for the whole family has turned into an insect. It is a problem that they could have never imagined, and it's a problem that they cannot fix. Gregor Samsa is somebody who has spent his whole life working to support his family, and one day suddenly and very randomly he wakes up and finds that he has turned into a huge insect, and his family discovers it and they're obviously terrified, and slowly and painfully the family that was dependent on Gregor eventually stops seeing him as human, and finally when Gregor dies everybody is kind of relieved. I found this book quite disturbing, not because it's dark or anything, but because it's actually very honest. Underneath the disturbingness of the book was a deeper comfort of knowing that the author is actually identifying and trying to bring out something that you inherently believe is true about human nature. For me, the big idea in this book is that we are alone. Like you, me, all of us, reality is structured in a way that we are alone. So aloneness is not an idea, aloneness is the foundation. Friends, family, society, love, all of these are ideas or constructs that are built on the foundation of this, on this massive foundation of aloneness. This is what Kafka understood at a fundamental level. This is what is also at the root of this book. Gregor's family did not stop loving him because they were bad people. They stopped because nobody can truly inhabit another person's suffering. Not fully and definitely not forever. You have to move on. You have to move on. That's not a flaw in them, that's just how perception and reality are designed. Like, think of it as a jar of marbles. Everybody's reality is like this wholly rounded off marble. So two marbles can only touch at a very small point, and that is the window through which they can experience each other's suffering. Other than that, you can't really experience what another person is going through fully. So in that sense, you are fundamentally alone. So in this book, I felt that Gregor is like this person who is at the bottom of the ocean, on the seabed, and his family is this tiny little boat which is floating on the surface, and he can see the boat, and the boat can somehow sense that he's also there, but the boat will never be at the bottom of the ocean, right? The reason why The Metamorphosis is such an important piece of literature is because at some point of time it becomes important for people to understand that they are alone and they will be alone and nobody else cares. Once you truly understand the concept of being alone, you will probably stop feeling lonely and finally be free. When you realize that you are actually alone with your experience and nobody can experience your experience to the completeness that you do, you will stop waiting for anybody to understand you, and you will move on with your life. You will stop waiting for the boat to come down, and you will probably start chilling by yourself. So that's what I got out of this book. It's a lovely metaphor for a very beautiful and profound truth about human existence. In your experience of your suffering, you are completely alone. Friends, family, society, loved ones, nothing else matters. And once you understand that, I think it kind of sets you free in a way that you have no more expectations from other people, even if they are your loved ones, even if they are your family. 4 out of 5 stars. I don't really recommend books that are disturbing or tragic just for the sake of it, but I will definitely recommend this one because the truth that this book contains is very unsettling, but it's also very useful. So if you have read this book, let me know what you thought about it in the comments. Yeah, even otherwise, just leave a comment below. It's always, I like reading comments to book reviews, so leave a comment down below. I want to read more of Kafka's books, so if you have read any other Kafka books, leave the names down below. Tell me which one I should read next. That's it for this one. Thank you for watching. Bye.